Hey guys, welcome to my first Tech Talk. This isn't the format that we all expected or hoped for, but I'm still super happy that we can do this, and I'm super excited to see what this evening will bring. I'm going to talk to you about testing, and since I can't interact directly with you guys, I'm going to take a slightly more narrative approach and talk about the different views and approaches to testing. And we're also going to look at some actual code testing as well. Now, I'd like to start off by telling you three short stories. And the first one is the first school of testing. We don't do testing. Now, this right here is Tim. Tim is an engineer and he is going to get a mission. Someone comes to him and tells him to build a bridge. And Tim has built several bridges before. He knows in his mind immediately what he needs to do. So he gathers up the materials and then he starts trying out the different kinds of bridges that exist until he finally finds one that suits his needs. You see, Tim is basically us when we plan something in our heads and then just go right at it. I don't know about you guys, but I know that I can do that quite a lot of times. Now, here comes the thing. Tim is about to go on vacation, so someone else, John, is going to come in and he's going to maintain this bridge. So he gets in, and Tim basically goes, "Yep, I'm going, I'm having a vacation." So John looks at the bridge and decides, "Yeah, I'm going to do some changes here." So he starts working and replaces the bridge with this. You see, he has no idea about the standard nor the deep purpose of the bridge. He knows that he has some things he wants to change and he runs with it. A few weeks later, Tim comes back and sees the changes and the purpose of the bridge and the standard that was set before by him has been lost. Now, I think we can all relate to this when we build something that we are so sure works perfectly, and then someone else does something completely different in the code, way far away from the component that you created, and suddenly your component is the one that breaks. The problem here is that unless you have something that continuously tests your component, the person who makes the changes, or even you, will not see this until you actually push the code and try the actual application. Now, that's the problem with having no testing at all. But there is two ways to approach to having tests as well. And the second school of testing is confirmative testing post code. This is my fancy way of saying that you write the tests after you develop the code. This right here is Bob. And Bob is also going to build a bridge. And he has built a lot of bridges as well, so he gets right into it. He tries a few different styles until he finally finds one that works for him. But he does realize that, this bridge will have to be maintained by someone else because I'm going on vacation. So I'm going to write them a checklist. And he looks at the bridge, which is already done, and he just creates a list of what should be there and what it should be able to handle. This is basically what writing tests after the code has been developed is like. So now he leaves and John comes back in. You see, he's the guy that jumps in while everyone else is having a vacation. John is the hard-working guy. And he sees the list and realizes, oh, I know how to work this because I know what the purpose of this bridge is. So every time he makes a change, he can go back to the list and he can check off, does this thing still apply? And that makes the transition between the two engineers so much smoother. And some people really don't like this approach, but I want to say it's way better than not having any tests at all. And I actually do think that this is a smooth way to get into testing, but I don't think it's the best way to do tests. Because the reason people don't like it is because you do not develop code that will pass the tests and reach the purpose that you've set. You instead create a test that will pass the code. And so the opposite of that is the third school, test-driven development. And this is exactly what it sounds like. This is when you write your tests in order to create code that passes them. Here we have John again. You see, this time is John's time to shine. He's going to build a bridge. And he realizes that he needs to plan this out. So his first step is to make a list. The bridge is made of black metal. It should have a width of 100 feet. And it should support heavy traffic. And then, once he has this list done, he starts his actual building. And he goes through a few things and develops the bridge until it has matched all the criteria. Because if it hadn't, if it just had reached the two first criterias and not the third, it would not actually have been complete. It would have been considered an incomplete bridge. Now John is going on vacation. So he gets out of there, and Tim from the first scenario comes in, and he looks at the bridge and goes, wait a minute, why are there 6 pillars on this bridge? That doesn't make sense. That doesn't look good. I'm going to change that. So he removes 2 pillars. This looks way better. And then he looks at the list that John left him. The bridge is made of black metal. Check. The bridge is 100 feet wide. Perfect. And then he looks at the third point. Can it still support heavy traffic? He gets a truck and he tries to drive across the bridge and realizes the sounds the bridge make are imply the fact that it will not hold. And he suddenly realizes that, oh, those pillars were there for a reason. They are needed to support the heavy traffic. So he immediately gathers up materials and he builds 2 pillars back. And then he tries to drive the truck over the bridge. And it works. And thus, he can say that the bridge still fulfills the criteria. John comes back from his vacation and everybody is happy. Now that's what test-driven development is. It's basically combining the planning part of developing the code and partly, in a way, the documentation of the code. Because it helps anyone who comes into the code after you, or it doesn't actually have to be after you. It can be one of your colleagues who just accidentally codes something that somehow interrupts what you already developed. And by having these tests, you help both yourself and your colleagues to make sure that the code continuously works and there is not a hidden error somewhere in the code that you need to do a very specific thing to actually get. And you will catch this before you even try to run the code. Before you try to, what's the word I'm looking for here? Try to run the application. You simply have to run the tests first. That was my point. But that all being said, I think it's time we actually get into some actual testing. So let's jump into that. Now, keeping in the theme of bridges, I've created a bridge component in Vue, as well as a test file using the Vue test utilities. I'm not going to go into the nitty-gritty of testing as such. I just want to show you the concept of testing and basically how the flow works. When we are writing a test, we are basically telling the test file that this is what we expect the code to be. So if you look here in bridge.test.js at row 10, we have a test that starts with the description component renders. And we use the jest methods expect on the component itself. And then we use the exist method and we expect that to be true. Now, this might sound a little bit strange if you have never seen this kind of syntax before, but once you get into it, it's fairly simple and self-explanatory. So what we are going to do, we are going to write some tests, and then we are going to build our component from those tests. So let's get started. Let's see, we're going to build a bridge. So we need 4 pillars, right? That's the minimum, I think. So what I do here, I first describe what I actually want to test. You could leave that empty, but that's poor conduct in my opinion. I think you should explain what you're actually testing with the test. So let's see here, 4 pillars, yep. So what I do is create a variable, and then I use basically a query selector all, you could say. But instead we write find all, and we find all elements with the class pillar. And we expect all pillars to have a length of 4 in that case. That sounds simple, right? Again, I know it looks sort of weird if you've never seen this before, but bear with me on that one. And let's see, a bridge, 4 pillars, and we need a girder as well. Otherwise, I don't think it's a bridge. It's just 4 pillars. The bridge has 1 girder, and we create our test just like we did before. And in this case, let's see, I'm just double checking I'm actually doing this right. Yes, I am. We are going to basically use a query selector, but in this case it's just find an element with the ID girder. And we expect the variable girder to exist. That means that the exist method will return true. Basically, most tests are about testing what the return of the method is. Not always, actually, when you test on the front end, but mostly you can assume that that's what you're going to test. So let's see, not expect. We are going to, what more do we want? Oh yeah, since the bridge has to carry some traffic, we need a function that calculates how heavy the traffic can actually be. So let's see. Traffic weight above 500 units are no-goes. I have no idea what the units are, nor the standard weight that a bridge should be able to handle. In this case, it's 500 units. So let's see. In this case, we can actually use an expect method immediately. And we can use, this is unique for Vue, a .vm to access all the functions inside the Vue component. And we're gonna name it handles traffic, and we're gonna insert 501 to that, and we're going to expect it to return false because the bridge will not be able to handle that kind of weight. Again, you have to use your imagination here a little bit. I'm again just trying to show you the process. And we want a name for the bridge, obviously. Name of the bridge, Jesus, is Golden Geshdo with capital G's. Let's see. And this is also pretty cool. This is also a Vue thing that we use the VM to reach the data directly. And we expect that to be Golden Geshdo. Now, sadly, here's the part about doing this without seeing you guys, because I can't ask you who has been working in Vue and who has not, so I can't explain it. So I hope you will ask all the questions you have about this after the video. So let's see. We have our test written up. So now we are going to the component. So let's see, what do we need? We need 4 pillars, right? And they're going to have the class pillar. Let's see, 4 of those. And on top of that, we need a girder as well. And that's going to be an ID. Okay. Let's see, 4 pillars, 1 girder, and we need a method named handles weight, which takes a number. And if that number is, let's see, if number is above 500, it will return false. Otherwise, it will return true. Like, I hope you follow between the test and the component, so you see what I'm doing here. And we are going to have a name for this as well, and that name will be Golden Geshdo, right? So we planned our component with the tests. We created a component very quickly, and now we are going to run the actual tests. So we jump into the terminal here and run them. And this is always one of those times where I hold my breath and go, oh, did I actually do this right? But that's the point of the test, to see if we did it right. It's always so slow when you're recording. I noticed this. There we are. See? We got some problems here. And that's actually perfect, because this is the true genius about testing. You do something wrong and it will tell you. So let's see here. Bridge component.vm handles traffic is not a function. Ah, that's true, because I accidentally named it weight. Handles traffic is the name of the game. And also, the name of the bridge isn't Golden Geshdo with a lowercase second g. It's supposed to be capital D's. So let's run them one more time now that we fixed it. And let's see what happens. I'm really curious about this. Let's see. There we are. Our component passed all the tests that we wrote, meaning it's a fully working bridge as far as we planned it. Now, again, I'm just trying to show you the easy process of writing tests. It can be more advanced. It can be made. I don't think it can be made easier actually, but it's not that hard, and it does help us a lot. And yeah, I should say that all in all, just by adding some testing to every project, I think we would save a lot of time. At least I know I do on my components. I'm still learning, but I'm getting there. I mean, after all, it's all about building bridges, right? Thank you very much.